Recording in progress.
प्रारंभ करें, चालू करें भाई साहब। गुड मॉर्निंग एवरीवन। सो करंट अफेयर्स के अंदर क्या हुआ इस हफ्ते? बिल्कुल बने। फिर
दो नए इलेक्शन कमिश्नर आए हैं, रिटायर्ड कमिश्नर से गणेश कुमार और कोई सिद्धू पंजाबी सिद्धू ऐसा कुछ।
ओके, जैसे कोई गुजराती होगा तो पटेल शाह हो सकता है। पटेल और शाह, फर्स्ट नेम कौन सा, लास्ट नेम कौन सा? ओके, देन हाँ, सीए इम्प्लीमेंट हो गया है कि होने वाला है कि, तो उसके रिलेटेड न्यूज क्या है? सीए तो कब से बोल रहे हैं होने वाला इम्प्लीमेंट। फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल सीए है क्या, उसके रिलेटेड न्यूज क्या हुआ इस हफ्ते? हाँ,
जो minorities है like Pakistan, Bangladesh वगैरह, like not Muslims but Sikh, Sindhi वगैरह वगैरह, उनको इंडिया की सिटीजनशिप देंगे।
ओके
14 से पहले होना चाहिए इंडिया कोई।
ओके, फिर व्हाट एल्स? और क्या हुआ? बहुत सारी घटनाएं हुई हैं।
इलेक्शन की 7 फेजेस
इलेक्शन की
7 फेजेस
डिक्लेयर हो गई। ओके, फिर विच इलेक्शंस? द लोकसभा इलेक्शंस। देन बढ़िया, चलो।
नई स्कीम मोदी जी ने अनाउंस करी, नाम भूल गया। और रोजगार एग्जैक्टली। सागर में क्या नाम है, पीएम कुछ था, पीएम सागर
सूरज।
हाँ।
सो व्हाट इज सूरज?
तो वो क्या बोलते हैं, एम्प्लॉयमेंट और उस चीजों के बेस पे है। लाइक वो कोई मीट में गए थे जहाँ पे एम्प्लॉयमेंट और पावर के ऊपर कुछ तो था इवेंट, और वहाँ पे उन्होंने अनाउंस किया था कि
बढ़िया। हाँ, किसकी क्या बैन हुई है? डॉग्स के 23 ब्रीड्स बैन हो गए हैं। अच्छा, उसमें से कौन सा ब्रीड बैन हुआ है? आई होप पोमरेनियंस बैन हुए हैं। भोगते हैं ऐसे, रात को नींद खराब हो जाती है। एनीवे, बाय द वे 23 ब्रीड्स बैन होने की बात हो रही है। डू यू इवन नो 23 ब्रीड्स ऑफ डॉग्स? हाउ मेनी ब्रीड्स ऑफ डॉग्स डू वी एक्चुअली नो? आठ से नौ, ऑलमोस्ट 10 जितने नाम हुए हैं। बैन 23 हो चुके तो होंगे कितने? Unless they have banned every single breed. Chalo, let's take a look at current affairs, what happened in the past in 1 week or so. First and big, Sudha Murthy has been nominated to the Rajya Sabha. Right? So you know in India we have two houses. Which are the two houses in the Indian Parliament? The lower Sabha is the Lok Sabha and the upper house is known as the Rajya Sabha. So in the Lok Sabha, how does a person become a member of the Lok Sabha? Huh? When how do you become a member of the Lok? So basically elections, right? So the Lok Sabha elections which are going to happen in 2024, that is for electing representatives to the Lok Sabha. But how do you become a member of the Rajya Sabha? How does one become a member of the Rajya Sabha?
voting among them.
Huh? Right? Most of the seats in the Rajya Sabha is not through direct elections through the Aam Janta, but the way Sudha Murthy got elected is through presidential nomination. So, according to Article 80 of the Constitution, Article 80 Part 3, the Constitution has a provision where it says that the President can nominate 12 out of the total 245 members in the Rajya Sabha. And who are these 12 members who can be nominated by the president? So these 12 members are supposed to be experts in special fields. Either they have a special knowledge or they have a practical experience in areas like literature, science, art, social service, and so on. Because of this, many famous personalities have often been nominated to the Lok Sabha, some of them including cricketers, actors, and so on and so forth. So Sudha Murthy has now been nominated to the Rajya Sabha as part of the 12 people who can be nominated by the President of India. Sudha Murthy, by the way, everybody knows who Sudha Murthy is, right? Wife of Narayan Murthy, mother-in-law of Rishi Sunak,
A book writer.
but a very well-known writer, philanthropist. She has already been awarded both the Padma Shri and the Padma Bhushan, right? So a very, very famous personality, famous for a lot of things, and now also a nominated member to the Indian Rajya Sabha. So, लिख लो. So Sudha Murthy elected to Rajya Sabha by President, wife of Narayan Murthy, mother-in-law of Rishi Sunak, mother to Akshata Murthy. You don't have to write the entire sentence, just the salient points. Done?
Yes, sir.
Chalo. So Padma Shri and Padma Bhushan, the third and the fourth highest civilian awards she has been given. Which is the highest civilian award in India?
Bharat Ratna.
It's the Bharat Ratna. The highest civilian award in India is the Bharat Ratna. And which is the highest military award in India?
Paramveer Chakra.
The Paramveer Chakra. So Article 83, President nominates 12 members. Done?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, once upon a time when the internet was new and then mobile phones were new and then social media was new, everybody would like, especially parents and teachers would always be shouting at us. Or I should not put me in your category, I should put in the Buddha, myself in the Buddha category. We guys would be shouting at you for being on social media and stuff. But no longer so. Now, last week, at least 10 days back, the National Creators Award was
Coach.
announced by none other than the Prime Minister of India, where an entire list of digital creators were awarded,
Different genre.
right? And जिसको हम छिछोरे समझते थे उनको national awards मिल चुके हैं. Even creators with tag names like Beer Biceps, which have no idea hota kya hai, has been apparently given the Social Creator Award. So basically, it's a Create on India movement where now, based on social media, India has to be promoted in the world. And for that, about across 20 different categories and approximately 10 lakh votes were taken. And these awards, they recognize skills, excellence, and impact across different domains.
None of them.
What?
बोलने के लिए वो skills.
क्या?
नहीं. जो ये बोलने के लिए ना स्किल और वो सब वो बस बोलने का है सर ऐसे कैरी को भी मिला ना. मैं सर को बोल दूँ.
I have no idea कैरी मिनाटी को मिला है कि नहीं मिला है. उसी की बात कर रहा है ना.
हाँ.
Will you believe I have not seen any content developed by that bugger, and I have no idea वो करता भी क्या है, except कि वो कुछ करता है. Anyway, so National Creators Award. It was at the Bharat Mandapam in New Delhi across 20 different categories. And things like storytelling, social change advocacy, environmental sustainability, education, वहां तक समझ में आ गया. गेमिंग के लिए क्यों मिलना है, नो आइडिया. बचपन में सिर्फ मार पड़ती थी, अभी अवार्ड्स मिलते हैं. हाँ? गेमिंग एग्जैक्टली होता क्या है, फॉर विच एन अवार्ड इज ऑल्सो बीइंग गिवन. पबजी खेलो और जीतो. नहीं, कोई ऐसा गेम है विच इज बेनिफिशियल और जिसको ऑनलाइन फॉलो करते हो लोग. हाँ, चेस गेमिंग कितने लोग फॉलो करते हैं यहाँ पे.
बहुत कम है.
सही है. चलो, सो नेशनल गेमिंग अवार्ड्स. ओके, द इंडियन नेवी has commissioned INS Jatayu, Indian Naval Service, so basically a ship. And strategically, this is important because last time, if you remember, we talked about Maldives and how Indian presence of military is being taken away from the Maldives. And Maldives was a strategic location for us. And now, because the current president, current of the Maldives has an anti-India campaign, so our presence is required in that part. So now we have our own ship, the INS Jatayu, which is near the Lakshadweep Islands, specifically at the Minicoy Island. The name Jatayu itself comes from the Ramayana, where Jatayu is a mythical creature, a bird which died in the epic tale of the Ramayana. So based on that character, now you have the INS Jatayu. And it will be for surveillance in that region of the world. We already had INS Baz on the east coast near the Andaman Nicobar Islands. So on the west coast, now we have INS Jatayu near Lakshadweep. And all this is because there's a lot of piracy and other things going on. A lot of Chinese incursion is happening in the oceanic regions. So this base is just 130 kilometers from Turaknu, which is the northernmost island of Maldives. So we can strategically understand why it has been done. Right? Maldives in the news, INS Jatayu in the news. Done? Okay. Just as an aside, does anybody know the name of the brother of Jatayu in the Ramayana? First of all, do you know Jatayu had a brother in the Ramayana? What was the name of the brother of Jatayu? यार आजकल तो रामायण पे भी बड़ी बड़ी मूवीज बनी हैं, सीरीज भी बनी है. And Ramayana based, a lot of information has been in the news because of the Ram Mandir thingy. So Jatayu's brother in the Ramayana was Sampati. Okay, done with this?
Yes.
Okay. Jharkhand has introduced something called the Widow Remarriage Incentive Scheme. And important because this is India's first widow remarriage incentive scheme. If you take a look at Indian history, a lot of social reforms which happened in India, and for social reforms, we hear names like Raja Ram Mohan Roy and Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, Dayanand Saraswati. So one of the things which they always used to encourage was widow remarriage, abolition of child marriage, abolition of sati pratha, and so on and so forth. But surprisingly, till now there has been no widow remarriage scheme officially launched by any government. So Jharkhand becomes the first government in India which is officially giving incentives for widows to remarry. It's called the Vidhwa Punarvivah Protsahan Yojana. And basically what will happen is, if a woman who has lost her husband chooses to remarry, she will be given an incentive of 2 lakh rupees from the government. And this was launched by Chief Minister Champai Soren. But of course, certain criteria are there. Who is eligible for this scheme? One, the woman should be of marriageable age.
तो ये subject to the value
Cannot be less than 18, first of all. Huh?
upper limit कितना होगा?
That is debatable. It simply said, so the obvious thing is cannot be less than 18 years of age. Second, the woman should not be a government employee, pensioner, or income tax payer. So basically of an economically backward thing. Third, application for the incentive must be submitted within 1 year from the date of remarriage. So the moment she has remarried, within 1 year of that, she has to give an application to the government, and she can be a beneficiary to the scheme. And finally, the death certificate of the late husband must be provided. You cannot just claim my husband is dead and give me money. किसकी?
क्राइटेरिया लाइक अगर 80 साल में कोई बूढ़े होके मर जाते हैं और फिर वो डिवाइड करते हैं उनकी
so what's the problem? Fine. So if an 80-year-old woman, after losing her husband, plans to remarry, why shouldn't she be given 2 lakh rupees? तकलीफ क्या है भाई तेरे को?
कुछ बोलूंगा तो
बोल दे नहीं बोलना. And obviously, I mean, it's not written, but it's assumed that the husband should not have died under suspicious circumstances, especially, and the wife should not be under suspicion for that. Although officially, does not seem to be one of the criteria, but I assume that would be the criteria. If the wife is accused of the death of the husband, then may not qualify.
ऐसे तो कोई अगर जो मर रहा है उसी शादी करते हैं
इसी
में 2-2 लाख
लॉयर बनोगे तुम लोग, लॉयर बनोगे. स्कीम अभी निकला नहीं है, लूपहोल पहले निकालना चालू किया जनता ने. अच्छा, I hope you realize that males are not eligible for this. It's a widow remarriage scheme, not a widower. तो तू जितने भी स्कीमें बताए, तू विक्टिम बन सकता है, बेनिफिशियरी नहीं बन सकता. लॉयर बनेगा तू. चलो. Now that we have the Lok Sabha elections coming in, some of you, I don't know how many, may be eligible to vote. If you have completed 18 years, you may be eligible. So if you are not, then, but I hope you know how the election process happens, how you actually go to vote, right? You go to the polling booth. There, first of all, your documents are verified. Then an ink mark is placed on your finger, basically to indicate that you have already cast your vote, so that you don't go and cast your vote again, right? So that ink is put on your finger, then you go and cast your vote either in the form of paper ballot or EVM, whichever is being used. So that indelible ink remains the proof that you have voted, right? So that ink is prepared by a company called the Mysore Paints and Varnish Limited, and it is the only manufacturer of this ink in India. So obviously this contract has now been given कि भाई manufacturing कर दो, provide करो हमको. Although the company manufactures it, the ink was developed by Council of Industrial Research and National Physical Laboratory. It is applied on the left forefinger. It has to be on the left hand. It has to be on the forefinger. And it contains a chemical called silver nitrate. So the moment it reacts with your nail and light, it becomes dark. And it will remain up to 3 days on the skin. And on the fingernail, it will remain till your fingernail regrows. So a very desi method, but effective method of making sure that you don't vote more than once. And the moment elections are conducted, social media पे भर भर के लोगों की उंगलियां आएंगी. It will be multiple dates, हाँ. तो गुजरात का date is 7th May. 7th May, so that would be Wednesday or Thursday, I guess. Tuesday या Wednesday है शायद 7th में. I'm just checking because अगर Saturday Sunday को होगा तो entrance exam के साथ clash होगा. In fact, it happened many times because of the elections. Entrance exams either get delayed or advanced. Mostly delayed, up to 2 weeks. हाँ, काफी एग्जाम्स, क्योंकि मई में ही एग्जाम्स होते हैं, मई में ही ये डेट्स भी होते हैं. So if there is any clash, they will always delay the entrance examination. Okay. Done, Shay? Okay. A lot of OTT. In fact, last week we saw an OTT related news. What was that?
बैंक cases.
Reliance, Disney, Viacom Media 18 का merger.
बैंक
OTTs बैन हुए थे, apps बैन हुए थे. OTTs, कौन से platforms बैन हुए थे?
हेडलाइन पढ़ा था सर.
Hopefully none of the platforms that we are currently watching.
लोकल चाइनीज
हाँ, वो सब तो दुनिया भर में बैन होते हैं. But India's first state-run OTT. This will be run by the government of a state, which is Kerala, called C-Space. So Kerala Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan, he launched this platform in Trivandrum. It will be managed by the Kerala State Film Development Corporation, and they will be showing award-winning films, short films, documentaries, and other content on it. This OTT will run on a pay-per-view revenue sharing model, which basically, see, what happens on OTTs like Hotstar or Netflix is you pay a subscription fees, right? You pay either a monthly or an annual fee, and on that, then you can watch as many as you want. But for C-Space, they are using a pay-per-view model, which means for every content that you view, you have to pay a fees. So it will be basically 75 rupees to watch the film. If it's a short film, obviously lesser amount. And some amount of this revenue will be shared with the creator of that film. And KSFDC will bear 50% of the cost. So basically everything that you watch, you will be paying some amount. For every view, you will be paying some amount. I don't know how cost effective it is going to be. How many of you will actually pay per view?
वो अभी apps पर वगैरह भी होता है तो they rent a movie, but normally no one does.
हाँ. Unless it's a very new movie and you are like, हाँ मुझे देखना ही देखना है.
पायरेट हो जाती है.
हाँ?
एक दिन में पायरेट हो जाती है.
वो पायरेसी का भी एक पर्टिकुलर उम्र के बाद जमाना चला जाता है. We guys at this age are no longer interested in pirated stuff. We are not even interested in paid stuff. आएगा, जब आएगा फ्री में तब देख लेंगे. Not free, but OTT पे जब आ जाता है तब. Okay. हाँ, Amazon ने किसी पे ना लायन हॉटस्टार किसी पे लायन गेट एंड लायंस गेट वो सब आते रहता है. एवरी ऐसे ओ वाओ मूवी आ गया, फिर लायंस गेट पे पर ओनली 250 रुपए में जाने में थिएटर में जाके ना देख लूं, सस्ता पड़े. हालांकि थिएटर में जाके देखना इतना भी सस्ता नहीं पड़ता है, बिकॉज थिएटर में जाएंगे, आने जाने का खर्चा, पॉपकॉर्न का खर्चा, और पॉपकॉर्न भी ऐसे नहीं कि 20 रुपए का आता है,
500
200-500 रुपए का तो मिनिमम आता है. आई मिस दोस डेज जब 10 रुपए का आता था पॉपकॉर्न. Have you guys ever watched movies in a single screen theater? आजकल सिर्फ और सिर्फ मल्टीप्लेक्सेस चलते हैं. सिंगल स्क्रीन थिएटर्स अभी हैं भी? Do they even exist? हाँ, यानी देश विदेश जाना पड़ता है घूमने के लिए. अहमदाबाद में बैठ के they exist but nobody watches them. In fact, most of them are converted into sort of multiplexes. वरना आश्रम रोड पे there used to be 7 theaters, 7 different theaters. अभी कितने हैं वहां पे? Don't even remember कौन से. शिव, श्री, नटराज, they all used to be there. City Gold तो अब सब है, and City Gold is a multiplex. It's not a single screen theater. Anyway, has anybody ever been to an open air theater? Drive-in? One of the few open air theaters left in India. हम movies कम देखते थे, शोर ज्यादा मचाते थे वहां पे.
It is fun though.
It's fun. It's amazing, especially if you take your car and you blast your horn and everybody shouts at you. Okay. Underwater metro tunnel, Kolkata. Kolkata, by the way, is the only city in India which still has a tram service. Do you know what are trams? रोड के बीच में ट्रैक्स होते हैं, उसमें जाते हैं. They are sort of a cross between trains and buses.
Sir, but it's hardly.
हाँ? It exists. I didn't say it's functional. It exists. And I've not been there, but I've heard it's the only place जहाँ पे अभी भी 50 पैसे और 1 रुपए में चीजें मिलती है. यहाँ पे तो भिखारी को मैं 1 रुपया देता हूँ, मेरे मुंह पे फेंकते हैं कि 10 रुपए से कम तो मैं नहीं लूंगा. I literally saw a भिखारी in Mumbai or something who was carrying a QR code. कि सर मतलब छुट्टे कौन लेते हैं सर, QR कोड है, स्कैन करके पैसे दो. हद है. Anyway, so India's first underwater metro tunnel has been opened in Kolkata. In fact, it's the country's first underwater transportation tunnel, and it is beneath the Hooghly River. And it is also the deepest metro station in India because it is 30 meters underground.
Sir, he announced 2019 something or other. I remember the news में था was
Announced होते रहता है, but लगता है time construction में. It is just 520 meters stretch under the river, which will cover in 45 seconds. So इस पे मैथ्स का क्वेश्चन बन सकता है. If 520 meters are covered at an average speed of 40 in an average time of 45 seconds, what is the speed of the train? Time, speed and distance का basic question बन सकता है, right?
multiply.
Huh?
Dividing कर रहा.
Distance upon time. So how many meters per second? 520 by 45. Not very fast. No, it is fast. Meter per second, whether it is fast. 11 something. 11 meters per second.
10.8.
Huh? 11, roughly 11. So convert it into kilometers per hour.
11.44.
So convert it into kilometers per hour.
18 by 5.
Into 18 by 5 to hardly, not even 40 kilometers per hour. Less than, 38 something. धीरे धीरे ही जाएगी ट्रेन. इन शॉर्ट भगाएंगे नहीं कोई. हाँ, अंडर वाटर है भाई, पानी में. I wonder if the train, you can see all machlis outside through the train. नहीं, the tunnel will be there, right? Tunnel लेकिन transparent हो तो मजा आ जाए, सिंगापुर style. The army and many defense organizations use PS1 controllers because they are easier to use than all those fancy tech stuff.
Underwater use करते हैं तो
एक बार हुआ, you're talking about the Trident tragedy which occurred. एक बार जो भी है, but PS1 controllers are actually better than using all those expensive stuff. Easier. Okay. Chakshu is the name of a digital platform for fighting against fraud calls and messages. I don't know how many fraud calls and messages you get, but I get tons and tons of calls every day which I don't want to receive. Huh?
एयरटेल नहीं आते 10,000.
I'll tell you when you guys, if you're not receiving, the moment you apply for any entrance exam and give your phone number and your email ID, जैसे एग्जाम्स खत्म होंगे, एग्जाम्स के पहले भी, बट एग्जाम खत्म होकर रिजल्ट जब आएंगे उसके बाद तो यू विल स्टार्ट गेटिंग एसएमएसेस एंड कॉल्स फ्रॉम सो मेनी यूनिवर्सिटीज एंड इंस्टीट्यूट्स, मोस्ट ऑफ विच यू वुड नॉट हैव हर्ड, कि सर कंग्रेचुलेशंस, आपने ये एग्जाम दिया है, आपका एडमिशन चाहिए. बोले कि मेरे कोई मार्क नहीं आए तो भी आपका एडमिशन मिल जाएगा. भगवान, यू विल गेट टन्स एंड टन्स ऑफ दीज कॉल्स एंड emails offering you admission into their esteemed institute ranked so and so by so and so Jumri Talaiya organization. हाँ? आपने नंबर दिया कहाँ पे है? तूने अपना नंबर दिया कहाँ? तूने अपने स्कूल में दिया है? तूने एंट्रेंस एग्जाम के लिए रजिस्टर किया है? करेगा ना कभी ना कभी. Any such big source, technically they are not supposed to give out, but हाँ, बिल्कुल बिकता है, बिल्कुल बिकता है, बिल्कुल बिकता है. In fact, a few years back, the CLAT committee in the registration form put a line saying that I am willing to receive I am willing to share my phone with other organizations. एक बार उन्होंने डाला, उसके बाद बंद कर दिया, because most people might have taken, I don't want to share. So by default, legally they are not supposed to, but पता नहीं कौन गायब करता है numbers, but हो जाते हैं. So if somebody is not at all willing to share the number, what should get a new number? Use it exclusively for admissions, because you need to maintain the number for a period of time. So if you don't want to share your private number, get one number specifically for this, and only give that number to everybody, or for registrations. मेरे नंबर तो दुनिया भर के साइट्स पे रजिस्टर्ड है, मेरे को हर तीसरे दिन में 4 कॉल्स आते हैं. If you have purchased anything new, you'll get calls. You have given your number anywhere, believe me, you're on database. Okay. The first all-women maritime surveillance mission, because March 8th was International Women's Day. So the Andaman and Nicobar Command, for the first time, they had a maritime, sea, ocean surveillance mission. The entire crew was women. This was on INS Utkrosh. So you know what is INS, right? Anything called an INS something. If you read the name INS,
Indian Navy.
so what is an INS something? It's a ship. It's basically a ship of the Indian Navy, right? So INS Utkrosh had this mission which was completely manned by women, 3 women officers, Lieutenant Commander Shubhangi Swarup, Lieutenant Commander Divya Sharma, and Lieutenant Vaishali Mishra. And a lot of critical roles like pre-flight briefing, meteorological briefing, medical checkup, air traffic control briefing. All these tasks, so not just on the ship, but even the associated tasks were completely performed by women crew, all women crew. You know what is a meteorological briefing? What? Weather. Weather. Meteorology is weather. Huh? Weather. Climate and weather are 2 different things. We are talking about weather here. Done? चले? Okay. डिफेंस की बात चल रही है. So India is the world's largest arms importer. You know what are arms? Not as in arms. हाँ. मैं भी वो गंदा जोक मार रहा हूँ. Weapons. So according to the SIPRI report, the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, Peace Institute है, weapons के बारे में research करता है. India is the largest importer of arms. And from who's the largest source for us? Russia. But the amount that we are getting from Russia is now reducing. 9.8% of the total arms import in 2019-2023 was done by India. By the way, do you know who's the largest spender on defense in the world? The US. And according to some reports, I don't know how true it is, US's total spending on arms is more than the total spending by the next 25 countries on the list. तो second to 26th largest spender in the world का total spending जितना है उससे ज्यादा अकेले यूएस का है. But I don't know how true the statistic is. But the largest spender obviously is US, but the largest importer is India now. Russia is almost 38% of our imports. Next is France, 33%. Then US, 13%. For defense, one of our other than Russia, which other country is a big part of our defense allies as far as technology is concerned? France तो ठीक है, amount Israel, because it's a small country, so financially speaking the numbers are not big. But if we talk about technology, then other than Russia, Israel is one of our biggest allies. And obviously, the reason why Russia, in fact, Russia used to give almost 50% plus to us. But the reason now, obvious, is Ukraine जो पंगा चल रहा है. But despite that, 38% of our import is from Russia. So you can imagine कितना manufacture होता है वहाँ पे. But that is also one of the reasons that India has started its own ammunition manufacturing through a private firm. In which state? Adani के साथ है. In which state? Uttar Pradesh. Uttar Pradesh. Ammunition. Huh? I think we discussed that last time or something. We saw that, but ammunition manufacturing for the first time through a private manufacturer for the first time India we have started. Obviously, we cannot depend totally on other countries, right? Because during times of war, you never know. Even if that country remains our ally, it becomes difficult to bring in. So it's always good to have indigenous manufacturing. So India, but still we are dependent a lot on imports. Done? Okay. FLY 91 or Fly 91 is India's newest regional airlines. Civil Aviation Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia. And the first flight of this new regional airlines was from Goa to Lakshadweep, the Mopa airport to Agati airport. So major airlines always fly between major locations, but connecting the tier 2, tier 3 cities is important. And big airlines normally would not fly there because it does not make cost sense. महंगा पड़ता है. So then smaller aircrafts or smaller players are required to connect smaller locations. So now we have FLY or Fly 91, which is between Goa and Lakshadweep. It is also going to connect Goa to Bangalore and Hyderabad. And this is under something called UDAN scheme. Ude Desh Ka Aam Nagrik. Hey, you should congratulate the person who creates all these acronyms. Flight के लिए nickname UDAN. Ude Desh Ka Aam Nagrik, UDAN, UDAN scheme. For the first time last month, I actually saw a smaller aircraft. Normally, जो aircrafts होते हैं, they have 3x3 seating, which is 3 seats on one side and 3 seats on the other. For the first time, I flew in an aircraft which has a 2x2 seating, and you don't need to climb too many stairs to get into aircraft. Indigo का कोई flight था, Ahmedabad to Indore, and that flight में normally you would expect कि थोड़ा ऊपर चढ़ना पड़ता है या through that tunnel you have to go and enter, right? This aircraft was barely 2 meters above the ground. 2 सीढ़ी चढ़ के तो अंदर. And I mean, उड़ने से पहले तो नीचे लैंड हो गया था. इतनी छोटू सा aircraft. I was surprised. I never knew such small aircrafts existed, but of course, for the first time, I was flying to a non-metro city. So, done.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Remember last time? I think I mentioned something called ASCII. क्या था? Nothing to do with AI. ASCI. The Advertising Standards Council of India. Right? No, it's not the censorship board, but if there are advertisements against which you have complained, then you can register a complaint with ASCII, right? So there are a lot of regulatory bodies which are required for control over things. And one industry which requires a lot of this is the pharmaceutical industry, right? Do you know who are medical representatives? Any person who has a doctor in the family? No. So if you have a doctor in the family, you can ask them who are medical representatives. आपके घर में बहुत सारी चीजें होंगी, pens, diaries, छोटे-छोटे gifts, having pharma company names on them. That is the Indian Medical Association. But the medical representatives, they would usually visit doctors and come. Why do they go to doctors and hospitals? To promote their stuff, right? See, doctors are technically supposed to give you the name of a generic medicine. Doctor is not supposed to tell you कि आप Combiflam लो. They are supposed to tell you कि you take salicylic acid or whatever. And फिर जो company का भी आपको मिले आप ले सकते हैं. But do you think pharmaceutical companies want that? So they will specifically try to recommend their own medicines to doctors. कि आप you recommend our brand to the patient, right? So there it happens that medical representatives and even pharmaceutical companies will try a lot to make sure that the doctors and hospitals recommend only their brand. So now there is something called the Uniform Code of Pharmaceutical Marketing Practices, the UCPMP, which is trying to stop any unethical marketing practices. So marketing people from pharmaceutical companies would actually give a lot of personal benefits to healthcare professionals or even family members, which include gifts, travel facility, hospitality, cash, and so on. UCPMP is now trying to stop all that. Under this new act, there's a list of what benefits are prohibited, what are the restriction on hospitality, what is the restriction on free samples, ethical conduct. It is trying to restrict how pharmaceutical companies promote themselves. Because I have seen a lot of free samples, and free samples not just of the medicine itself, but clocks and branded इतना सामान डॉक्टरों को मिलता है. कैलेंडर तो कुछ भी नहीं है. Pen drives. You will be amazed at the amount of free stuff that they give. Now, you give in a controlled manner, you give in an ethical manner, fine. But sometimes they go too much beyond. Bribery के point के लाखों किलोमीटर आगे. I mean, imagine they literally give out cash benefits. You recommend our product, we'll give you cash. There. I mean, खुल्लम खुल्ला bribery होता था. So now UCPMP is trying to restrict that. You know what are generic medicines? A generic medicine क्या होता है? So pharmaceutical companies, they manufacture medicine in particular brand names, right? And they usually will have a patent over that particular medicine for a certain amount of time, which means that nobody else can manufacture. But once the time of that period of that patent is over, they put out the formulation in public and anybody can manufacture it, right? So generic medicines are those unbranded medicines, जिसको हम unbranded वस्तु बोलते हैं. Unbranded medicines are called generic medicines. The government actually manufactures a lot of these generic medicines and sells them through government dispensaries. जो मेडिसिन आपको 200 रुपए में ब्रांडेड फॉर्म में मिलेगा, वो कभी कभी आपको 10 रुपए से कम में जेनेरिक फॉर्म में मिल सकता है. Now, obviously, pharmaceutical companies don't want you to go and buy a generic medicine, but there are stores where once you're recommended a medicine, you can go to the generic medicine store. You can show them, I want this. Is it available in generic form? And sometimes you'll be surprised कि जो चीज 200 रुपए में मिलती है वो 10 रुपए में भी मिल सकती है. So only thing is you should be aware that medicines are available. It's not always necessary that you should only buy those branded products. Generic products are actually safe and available through government stores. We should be aware of it. Anyway, done UCPMP?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Somebody was talking about Suraj, PM Suraj portal. So this is the Samajik Utthan and Rozgar Adharit Jan Kalyan. Ministry of Social Justice and Development has launched this portal, which is for the welfare of underprivileged communities, and it gives credit support to over 1 lakh entrepreneurs from disadvantaged sections of the society. Samajik Utthan is basically upliftment of community, and Rozgar Adharit Jan Kalyan is benefits through employment. Done?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So one more thing which we were talking about, the CAA. What do you know about the CAA, Citizenship Amendment Act? First of all, what are the rules for what are the general rules for citizenship in India? How do you become a citizen of India?
Bird.
Huh?
Bird.
So anybody born in India is a citizen of India. Like anybody born in the US becomes a citizen of US. So if I actually was born on US soil, I automatically become a US citizen. So does that mean any non-Indian delivering a child in India automatically gets Indian citizenship for the newborn child? No. So Indian citizenship basically is based upon your parentage. If one or both of your parents are Indians, then technically you can become a citizen of India. Or if you marry an Indian citizen, then you can apply and get citizenship of India. Or if India invades any other country and makes it a part of the Indian territory, then the citizens of that particular invaded territory also become citizens of India, a technicality which has not been used ever. Right? Huh? यार उसी पे तो हम रील बनाते 1000 years से ज्यादा इंडिया has never invaded any country. Proudly many people say that we have never invaded anyone. So what is the CAA? Because उसमें बहुत हो हल्ला हुआ था. I mean अभी भी चल रहा है but 2 साल पहले भी. So what exactly was it? हाँ. हाँ.
Like Hindi, Punjabi, जो like हमारे आसपास सारे कंट्रीज है वो ऑलमोस्ट मुस्लिम कंट्रीज है. उसमें जो माइनॉरिटीज है जो इंडिया में एंटर हुई है बिफोर 2014 उन्हें सिटीजनशिप मिलेगी.
In general, yes. So हो हल्ला किस चीज का हो रहा है फिर?
सर डिस्क्रिमिनेशन बेस्ड ऑन रिलीजन की वजह से कि मुस्लिम्स को नहीं दे रहे.
सिर्फ इंडिया में जो मुस्लिम माइग्रेट करके रह रहे हैं उनको नहीं
बेस्ड ऑन रिलीजन.
Is it a form of discrimination? Are they saying that Muslims will not get citizenship? So I'm not going to make your opinion. You have to read on the subject. I don't want to push my biases. But let's understand what exactly are the notifications. Because the center has just notified the rules for the CAA implementation. So yes, it basically says that if you are a Hindu, Sikh, Buddhist, Jain, Parsi or Christian from specifically Pakistan, Bangladesh or Afghanistan, and if you have entered India before 31st of December 2014, either illegally or on a long-term visa, then you are eligible for citizenship under CAA. What if I'm not from one of these minorities? Huh? That's the problem. People बोलते हैं तो मुझे नहीं मिलेगा. नहीं, it does not say आपको नहीं मिलेगा. आपको CAA के अंडर नहीं मिलेगा. आपको नॉर्मल सिटीजनशिप का पाथ तो अभी भी खुला है. The problem is the interpretation of this. People are interpreting it. तो इनको ही मिलेगा, बाकियों को नहीं मिलेगा. The law does not say बाकियों को नहीं मिलेगा. It says under this act, CAA के अंडर आपको फास्ट ट्रैक सिटीजनशिप मिल जाएगी. But if you are not a part of this, then normal जो citizenship का रूप है, you fulfill all the rules, you will still get citizenship. And it has nothing to do with existing citizens of India. A lot of people were doing ho halla, discrimination to certain minorities in India. This and that. If you're already a citizen of India, you have nothing to do with this act. Right? So the basic thing is it assumed that the minorities from these specific communities from these specific countries are facing religious persecution. And they escaped that country to escape religious persecution. And for that, they are being provided fast track citizenship. You are being, to be persecuted means you are harassed based on your religion. That is religious persecution. So it is assumed that they are escaping religious persecution from their country and hence require assistance. So it's only for that they are being given a fast track. It is not preventing others from getting citizenship. And it has nothing to do with existing citizens of India.
So something like asylum, no, in a way.
In a sort it is. In a sort it is. But asylum is different from getting citizenship. Asylum is just you stay. Citizenship is you become a full-fledged citizen of this country with all the rights and duties that is. So the CA, the new rules, it just tells you what documentation is required. Basically, you need documentation to prove what is your country of origin, what is your religion, what is your date of entry into India, and you have to demonstrate knowledge of at least one Indian language. That's it. So that's the notification of CA. But 4 साल से पंगा चल रहा है इसका. And most of people you ask have absolutely no idea what CA is. They just see the name of certain religions and ho Allah jal. Discrimination here. I mean, nahi discrimination. Half knowledge is dangerous. So I'm not saying good or bad. Read complete details of CA and then form your opinion if you want to form an opinion. Done? And basically what this does is it reduces your requirement of 11 years to 5 years. That's it. Instead of 11 years wait, within 5 years, after a wait of 5 years, you can become a citizen of the country. That's all it says. That means for others, 11 years. 6 साल और लगेंगे. It doesn't prevent anybody. Done? Sure. Spy satellites. Government तो launch करती रहती है, but India's first private spy satellite is now ready for launch. This is with Tata. So Tata Advanced Systems Limited (TASL). बहुत कुछ आया इसमें. कल मॉक में आया, आज डिटेल दे रहा हूँ. Yep. The launch. See, satellite. एक सेकंड. हाँ. क्वेश्चन क्या है? क्वेश्चन क्या है? SpaceX is owned by Elon Musk. हाँ. क्वेश्चन क्या था? So tell me the question.
The owner of SpaceX is associated with which of the following?
The Boring Company. The first option was the Boring Company. SpaceX is owned by Elon Musk. Elon Musk is also the owner for Tesla, PayPal, and the Boring Company. Question पूरी तरह समझने का, आधा दूरा नहीं समझने का. Anyway, the point is, a satellite cannot go into space on its own. It has to be put into a rocket, and that rocket has to be launched. So the launch of the rocket is being done by SpaceX, but the satellite itself is by TASL. So in April, through a SpaceX rocket, India's first spy satellite will be sent into space. Huh? ISRO might not have. SpaceX, it doesn't have to be. The satellite is private. ISRO might not be launching a payload at that point of time. Na? See, a country cannot launch a rocket at any time. It has to follow certain weather conditions, the positioning. So maybe ISRO does not have a payload planned, and SpaceX at that point might be launching something. See, whenever a rocket takes a payload, it is not just one thing. It takes literally dozens and dozens of. In fact, India also has the record of the largest amount of payload taken by. I think 104 something launches in a single rocket was done by India couple of years back. So, and sasta, it's not exactly cheap to use ISRO. अगर SpaceX आपको सस्ते में दे रहा है, तो भाई इंडियन है, हम तो डिस्काउंट तो हर चीज में बनता है. But whatever the reason is, the point is, हर चीज खुद ही करने का जरूरी नहीं है. So this is an electro-optical spy satellite. It assembled by TASL. This is also India's first orbital launch from an international soil. अभी तक सब इंडिया के श्रीहरिकोटा से ही होता था. For the first time, we are going to launch something from a foreign thing. This basically is in Florida, US. Done. Spy satellite. Okay. आगे बढ़े. TikTok. US has passed a bill. It's not completely implemented, but the first step has been done. So US has passed a bill to ban TikTok. Basically, TikTok is owned by a Chinese firm. And they feel that the Chinese owner, which is ByteDance, ByteDance is the name of the company which basically owns TikTok in US. And they feel that all the data collected through TikTok might be passed on to the Chinese government, and it's a security threat. So just like we have the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha in India, there they have the House of Representatives and things. So the House of Representatives basically has passed a bill, and both sides, like India has two parties, right? And India has multiple parties, but there they have two main parties, the Republicans and the Democrats. Right now it is the Democrats which is in power. The opposition is the Republican. But very few times you have both the parties voting together. But usually one party says yes, other party will say no. BJP says oxygen is necessary. Congress will say oxygen is poisonous. But jokes apart, it's a bipartisan support, which means both the parties are supporting to ban TikTok. But this has happened only in the House of Representatives. It also has to be passed by the Senate. So then technically, if this bill becomes a law, then ByteDance, which is the owning company, will be given 6 months to divest all the US assets. Obviously, जिनको बिल के खिलाफ बोलना है वो फ्रीडम ऑफ स्पीच का नारा उठाएंगे कि this is against freedom of speech and other things. And obviously, TikTok has given a statement opposing this. Obviously. And Chinese government will also have issued something saying that freedom of speech, देखो US में freedom of speech के खिलाफ सब हो चल रहा है, blah blah blah. The point is they are worried. India has already banned TikTok, by the way, long time ago. मुझे जस्ट समझ में आने लगा था कि टिकटॉक होता क्या, मैं सोच ही रहा था कि इंस्टॉल करूं, बट तब तक तो बैन हो चुका था. So I was happy. बट उसके बाद Instagram launched and Facebook also launched. So I think it's the same content, right? Which Instagram Reels and FB Reel does. उसमें और TikTok में फर्क है. TikTok is the same thing. So I didn't miss anything क्योंकि Instagram Reel उतनी बर्बाद कर रही है मेरे को आज जितना TikTok शायद करती. TikTok में ऐसा तो अलग क्या है जो Instagram and Facebook में नहीं है. It started the trend, but now उतना ही बकवास आजकल इस पे भी मिलता है. जैसे अभी Facebook people believe, but Facebook से भी पहले there was a social media thing called Orkut or MySpace. 2008 में तो Orkut officially बंद भी हो गया. But the entire trend was started. So Facebook was not the first one, but the most popular search engine today is Google. Google was the 17th search engine to be started. There were 16 other search engines before it. Most of them don't even exist today. Do you know any other search engine other than Google? Huh? Firefox भी तो ठीक है. Yahoo is there. Bing is there. Huh? Firefox is not a search engine. Firefox is a browser. It's a software application. Yahoo search. Have you ever heard of something called Ask Jeeves? One of the original thing. Bing is the Chinese equivalent for thing, and Microsoft now has Baidu is Chinese, Bing is Microsoft. Anyway, so TikTok ban, very good. हो जाए तो अच्छा है. Two important piece of news from France. France has now officially given the right to abortion as part of the constitution. And it's the first country where the right to abortion has become a part of its constitution. Which means that after the amendment is made to the constitution, abortion will become a guaranteed freedom in France. The legal right has existed since 1974. But by making it a part of the constitution, future governments or courts cannot easily remove that right. A constitutional right is a basic guarantee. Even in India, a legal right can be easily amended. A constitutional right is not easy to take away. So by making something a part of the constitution, it almost makes it a guarantee. And France has done it. So abortion का legal right तो था ही, but now constitution में भी वो लिख दिया गया है, so it becomes almost, and that reason, a big reason is because there was a judgment in the US called the Roe versus Wade judgment. The Roe versus Wade judgment in the US was a judgment which gave the right to abortion to women in US, and that judgment was recently overturned the last couple of years. And बहुत हो हल्ला हुआ था because now abortion is not a legal right in many states in the US. So, as a fight against this, France has said abortion is now a constitutional right in our country. Have you heard of the Roe versus Wade judgment? In 22, US Supreme Court reversed this, which was surprising across the world because abortion supposedly is something which US has always claimed that it is a big part, in the sense that it is a right which is to be given, and that right was taken away through the reversal of the Roe versus Wade judgment. Done. The second important thing which France has done, any idea? French law. So the second is, now there is something called aid in dying, euthanasia. So if you are an adult and you are facing end of life illness, then you also have an aid in dying, also called assisted suicide or mercy killing. India does not have a law for euthanasia.
सर समथिंग ऐसा भी होता है ना, लाइक अगर किसी को हार्ट अटैक समथिंग आता तो वो साइन कर सकते सर्टिफिकेट कि उनको वापस से लाइक
That is a DNR. It's called a DNR, or do not resuscitate, which basically means that you have signed something, a document saying that if you are dying, and then no extraordinary measures can be taken to save you. Ordinary measures fine, but extraordinary measures cannot be taken. In India, assisted suicide is not legal, only passive. And so any idea which landmark judgment is connected with this? Huh? No, not Shah Bano, but the name is similar to that. Shah comes in the name. It's the Aruna Shanbag case. There was a case, the Aruna Shanbag case, where she was a 20-odd-year-old nurse in a hospital, and she was raped violently, and she went into a vegetative state. Basically, she went into a coma and vegetative state. And for over 20, 30 years, she lived she existed as a vegetable, no brain function. And a lot of petitions were put in front of the court to allow her to die. But because India did not have the law, she survived for she was kept alive for a longer period of time than she lived as a human being. But before the law could be passed, she just died. But based on that, now a lot of the law came up that passive euthanasia, that is, you cannot actively kill, but you can stop life support to a certain extent. Right? So the Aruna Shanbag case is one of the landmark judgments in India as far as euthanasia is concerned. But even today, active mercy killing is not a law in India. It's not legal in India. France has legalized it. So what are the criteria in which active euthanasia can be done? One, it is only to adults, not for children. And the adult must be suffering from an incurable illness. There should be no cure for the illness you're suffering, and your death is not long term, it should be in the short term. Right? Second, you must be suffering from intractable physical or psychological pain. That means you must be suffering from pain which cannot be reduced. Third, of course, age 18 or above, and you should be capable of forming your own view. That means other person cannot take that decision on your behalf. you must be legally and medically competent to take this decision. And finally, if you are suffering from severe psychiatric condition or neurodegenerative disorders like Alzheimer's, then you are not eligible to take this decision. So right to death. One of the, if you are a law aspirant and if you get into a law school, one of the debates that you will be doing it is, does the right to life include the right to death? And it's still an open debate. Done? आगे बढ़े? चलो फिर से आ गया मालदीव्स. इंडिया को तो भगा रहा है, लेकिन चाइना के साथ अग्रीमेंट है. Maldives and China have now signed an agreement for non-lethal equipment. Do you understand what is meant by non-lethal equipment?
ज्यादा हानिकारक काम.
मार ना सकता है.
जो मार ना डाले, which does not take away life. So this is basically a military assistance agreement between Maldives and China, where the Chinese military will provide non-lethal military equipment and training to Maldives. And this will be free of charge. Huh? समझ रहे हो?
प्लान.
खेल समझ रहे हो भैया? So it will basically include things like tear gas, pepper spray, things which are used for crowd control and law enforcement. Indian military presence is to be removed from Maldives. Within a few months, even civilian presence has to be reduced. But at the same time, non-lethal free equipment will be given by China. So India has given INS Jatayu positioning in the near the Lakshadweep Islands. If you read them separately, they all seem like separate news. But geopolitically, everything is connected. किसका? Obviously. समझ लो भैया किस चीज का खेल है.
बस इक्विपमेंट है.
हाँ?
और ट्रेनिंग देने के लिए मिलिट्री प्रेजेंस तो होना चाहिए था.
अरब एंड द कैमल की स्टोरी पता है, बचपन में पढ़ी थी. नहीं पढ़ी हो तो सुनाओ.
हाँ.
तो एक रेगिस्तान में एक अरब शेख और कैमल जा रहे थे. रात का टाइम था और बड़ी ठंडी थी, तो अरब को लगा कि रुक जाना चाहिए, तो उसने अपना तंबू लगा दिया और कैमल को बाहर बांध दिया और अरब खुद अंदर तंबू में जाके आराम करने लगा. तो थोड़ी देर के बाद ठंड बढ़ी, तो कैमल बोले कि यार बहुत ठंड है बाहर. तो उसने अरब को बोला कि मास्टर मैं सिर्फ अपनी नाक को तंबू के अंदर रखूं, थोड़ी गर्मी मिले. तो अरब बोला ठीक है. तो अरब कैमल ने अपनी नाक अंदर घुसा ली. ये तुम लोग स्पॉयलर्स में ही मानते थे. सुनाने थोड़ी देर के बाद वो बोलता है मास्टर अपनी गर्दन भी डालूं. अरब बोले ठीक है. थोड़ी देर के बाद मास्टर अपना कंधा भी अंदर ले लो. तो धीरे करते 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 कैमल पूरा घुस गया और बोला कि अभी 2 लोगों के लिए जगह नहीं है, अरब तू बाहर जाके सो जा. तो वो पूरी तरह अंदर घुस गया. अरब को बेचारा बाहर सोना पड़ा. मॉरल ऑफ द स्टोरी, शुरुआत हमेशा छोटी चीजों से होती है. राइट. पहले नॉन लीथल इक्विपमेंट दिया है, फिर सब लंबा खेल है भैया, सब लंबा खेल है. समझा करो. सी, and do you think Maldives is the first country which is taking assistance from China? Sri Lanka, take a look at history. Take a look at the amount of assistance that Sri Lanka has taken. Take a look at the amount of assistance that a lot of other Southeast Asian countries are taking, and why many countries are against taking assistance from China. And look at a theory called the string of pearls theory. Geopolitical खेल है भैया. आगे मैं नहीं बोलूंगा, आगे तुम रिसर्च कर सकते हो अपने आप. समझ जाओ
इंडिया में ऐसा क्यों नहीं कर रहा?
क्या
इंडिया में चाइना को अगेंस्ट ऐसा क्यों नहीं कर रहा?
India, do you think, is not providing support to a lot? Why do you think we are providing a lot of support to Afghanistan?
पर वो सब इतना नजदीक नहीं ना,
कहाँ?
अफगानिस्तान इतना नजदीक थोड़ी है.
See, we will also provide lot of strategic support to a lot of countries. Now the point is that country is accepting help from whom? Do you think we are not trying our best to provide? खुल्लम खुला कोई नहीं बोलेगा. But see, now it is no longer open warfare ka zamana. Now it is economic and biological. Why do you think India provided a lot of COVID vaccination to multiple countries across the globe? Why do you think we maintain economic relations and provide? India is not a country which can totally be economically independent. We still get a lot of economic support from other countries, but then also we provide economic support to other countries as well. कि एक तरफ तुम दूसरों से पैसे ले रहे हो और फिर भी दूसरों को पैसे क्यों दे रहे हो? Because it is not as simple as just being self-sufficient. We cannot be self-sufficient, but we still have to maintain relations with other countries. That's why we provide economic support to other countries, right? So you take all these incidents together, you will slowly start understanding how foreign policy works, right? Today, रशिया यूक्रेन में वॉर चल रहा है, फिर तो भी रशिया को खुद को इक्विपमेंट की जरूरत है. Then why do you think Russia is still providing almost 38% of our imports of weapons is from Russia?
Relations.
Why does Russia need relations with India? Because India is one of the largest countries which can help as a buffer against Chinese invasion. And India also needs that Russian support so that it can be a buffer against Chinese invasion. NATO को जब last time पढ़ा था, right? Two countries, Sweden and which was the other? Finland or some country. Norway or Finland, two countries. Basically, they wanted to join NATO. Right? Immediately, what did Russia do?
उधर उसने अपने
Border पे अपना कर दिया. Everything is connected. No country lives in isolation. So we have to understand the relations happening, the transactions happening between countries to get a view of how balances are happening.
even Russia and China has been
Every country will have some or the other agreement. Now we have to understand what is happening and how it is happening and to what extent it is happening. Because it's not simple कि तेरा दोस्त, तेरा दुश्मन, मेरा दुश्मन. A will be friendly with B, B will be an enemy of C, C will be an enemy of A, but A will have some connection. सब गोलमाल है.
हाँ मतलब देखा फिनलैंड ने उसके साथ
Straight forward कुछ भी नहीं है. चलो. We'll come to now science. बहुत geopolitics हो गए. Simple science. Most luminous object in the world. What is luminosity? Bright. Bright. Huh? Huh? Wood. Luminous means brightness. So the most bright object in the world, the European Southern Observatory, using a very large telescope, has identified something called a bright quasar. One of the brightest objects, the most luminous, the one emitting the most light. And instead of giving it some nice name like our Indian politicians give, like Udan Yojana and Suraj Yojana, no, this is G0529-4351.
एलॉन मस्क के बच्चों का नाम.
इंडियन को देते हैं अच्छा नाम, ऐसे याद रहे, ऐसा कोई नाम देते हैं हम, बट नहीं, यूरोप में नाम ही ऐसा दिया है, नाम देने वाले खुद को याद ना रहे. And how bright it is 500 trillion times more luminous than the sun. We thought the sun is bright. This thing is 500 trillion times more luminous than the sun. And फिर भी टेलीस्कोप से देखते वक्त मुश्किल से दिखा होगा. If the sun stops emitting light, how quickly will we be able to experience it? 8 to 8.5 minutes, because the light takes almost 8.5 minutes to travel from the sun to us.
क्या पता अभी से 8 मिनट्स लगे होंगे.
Which is the nearest star to the earth? The sun. The sun is a star. चलो, done. अब छोटी मोटी चीजें, just one liners. Days in March. March 8th was International Women's Day. That's why a lot of women-related things happened on March 8th. March 14th is Pi Day.
Sir, वो maths वाला part.
Huh? You know what is maths wala pi ka value?
3.1.
So March is 3 and 14. So 3, 14. Don't tell me you guys didn't connect this. Why?
Yeah.
Write down March 14, 3, 14.
3.14.
That's why it's called Pi Day.
3.1.
March 14th is Pi Day. March 15th is World Consumer Rights Day.
हमको प्रोजेक्ट करना है.
हाँ?
कैंसर प्रोजेक्ट था.
Uh-huh.
इस वर्ल्ड कंज्यूमर राइट्स डे पर ऐसा कुछ था.
सिर्फ स्कूल में या किसी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के साथ?
आई थिंक सीबीएसई का ही था.
Okay.
सीबीएसई भी देना होता है.
वो तो हर साल करते हैं इंटरनेशनल कंज्यूमर राइट्स डे. March 20th is International Day of Happiness. आज कौन सी तारीख है?
17 3 दिन है.
3 दिन है अभी तो.
22 को.
And 23rd is Martyrs Day.
कुछ हुआ था?
Gandhiji's death is the most famous Martyrs Day in India, which is 30th of January.
सर लेकिन कुछ तो इससे
But March 23rd is Bhagat Singh, Shahid Sukhdev, Rajguru, and Sukhdev. So we have multiple Martyrs Day in India. The most famous Martyrs Day is 30th of January. But March 23rd is also observed as Martyrs. It's not celebrated. It's observed as Martyrs Day because that's the day Bhagat Singh and others. I think Pi Day was the day for Stephen Hawking and Albert Einstein also. Both of them. Death or birth? Birth of one and death of one, I think.
एल्बर्ट आइंस्टाइन का बर्थ था.
And Stephen Hawking का शायद death day है March 14th. Pi Day. Okay. There is something called IBCA, International Big Cat Alliance. So 96 countries and other organizations have together come. Huh? 7 cats: tiger, lion, leopard, snow leopard, cheetah, jaguar, and puma. For conservation and blah blah of these 7 big cats, they have formed the International Big Cat Alliance. Government has given 150 crore का assistance. अंबानी की प्री वेडिंग इससे ज्यादा महंगी थी. हाँ? क्या हुआ?
लायन कैट फैमिली में आते हैं. हाँ. Of course. Second class.
Most of these are मौशी. cat इन सब की मौशी, बिल्ली. ये सारी बिल्ली हैं. Lion, tiger, leopard, snow leopard, cheetah, jaguar, puma. They're all cats. Members of the cat family, felines. So if cats are felines, dogs are canines. Wolves are vulpine. Vulpine, vulpine. Horses are a word used to describe. So if cat-like is feline, dog-like is canine, wolf-like is vulpine, then horse-like is equine. EQUINE, equine. नहीं सुना है तो अब इसलिए सुना रहा हूं, अगले टेस्ट में पूछ सकता हूं. बेयर लाइक इज समथिंग एंडिंग इन आइन ही होना चाहिए. बेयर का कोई भी कॉन्स्टलेशन पता है? ओरायन इज हंटर. उर्सा मेजर. सो बेयर लाइक इज उर्साइन. काउ लाइक is bovine. Bovine creatures are creatures like cows. Vocabulary. Okay. Next, world's first Vedic clock in Ujjain. It is inside the Jantar Mantar on an 85 feet tall tower. World's first Vedic clock is in Ujjain. mean, that's the only thing relevant. Where is the world's first Vedic clock? Ujjain, in Madhya Pradesh. Okay. From that to the world of sports. Namibian cricketer John Nicol Lofty Eaton has created history by scoring the fastest century in T20 International, 33 balls. नमीबिया वर्सेस नेपाल के मैच में नो आइडिया कितने लोगों ने देखा होगा ये मैच.
दस लोग जो भी फैमिली मेंबर्स होंगे.
फिर भी बड़ी बात है. There was a politician who lost an election because he got only 7 votes.
और उसकी फैमिली
उसके फैमिली में 11 वोटर्स थे. I would have asked this question before. Let me see if you remember. The first person to score a double century in international ODI.
She's a woman.
Yes, an Australian female by the name of Belinda Clark.
हाँ अरे आप
10 बार पूछ चुका, कभी कोई याद नहीं रखता. और फिर भी सचिन तेंदुलकर, युवराज, डॉन ब्रैडमैन चालू हो जाती है. एटलीस्ट यू गॉट द कंट्री राइट.
अंदर की बात
चलो. John Nicol Lofty Eaton from Namibia, fastest T20 century, 33 balls. Does Nepal have a team? Come on. Does Nepal exist? Cannot be a question. Nepal is the only Hindu country in the world. India is a secular country. Declared state religion जिसका हो. Okay. Done. Done for the day. कोई questions तो पूछो, वरना we will catch up at 1:30. बराबर 6.
Recording stopped.